Hello and welcome back to the Not the Old Firm YouTube channel. My name is Ben Banks, joined by James Black to look over a weekend's worth of action. James, you've given us a wee wave there. That's a shot for you. You usually look down and dismal when I ask you to do these, but no, nevertheless, going to be looking back. Full card of fixtures starting on the Friday night as we aim to help the Scottish national team. The way it's ended up, we've helped Andy Considine prepare for the game next Thursday. But the games were still played on the Friday night. Aberdeen 2, Hibs 0, Ross County 1, Livingston 1, St Johnstone 1, Kilmarnock 0, and St Mirren 0, Dundee United 0. And then on the Sunday, we're just recording this after the last match in that Celtic 4, Motherwell 1. A disappointing result for Motherwell, given that they were well in the game up until about 70th minute. And then Rangers versus Hamilton Accies, a staggering scoreline. Rangers expected to win that game very comfortably. I don't think anybody would have predicted 8-0 before the start of it. But we'll look back on it all. Start with Aberdeen Hibs. Hibs, by Jack Ross's admission, very, very disappointing in that one, despite the 2-0 scoreline. Aberdeen had that one dead and buried inside the first 25 minutes. And it's again, those questions are being asked of Hibs sort of in the big games. They've looked really great this season. I think they've been probably, in terms of the football they've played, perhaps been the most exciting out of anybody out of Celtic and Rangers. But in their last two games, and arguably two of their biggest games of the season, they've lost them both, which hasn't helped Hibs fans as matters after last weekend.
You're afraid of Hibs it?
Well, I was avoiding the saying, but by the...
it has a name for a reason, man. It's been called Hibs it for a reason. And you know, I completely agree with what you say about some of the football they've played. They've played some really, really good stuff at times this season. But it's only been the last couple of games, but if it's not getting results, then Jack Ross needs to look at what he needs to do to get results. But at the same time, it's only a couple of games just now. They've done fantastically well so far to this point in the season. And it's going to be interesting the next few weeks after the international break just to see kind of how he gets them going again, kind of picks them up. I'd probably say that this is actually maybe a wee bit counterintuitively, but it's probably quite well timed, this international break, just on the back of losing to Hearts, losing to Aberdeen. It's a kind of good time to just kind of get away, kind of lift the heads a bit, get morale lifted a little bit, and then make a fist of things in that stretch to Christmas and New Year.
I've seen fans on Twitter, some of them, a very small minority, said that saying, "No, Jack Ross out," which is just absolutely bonkers given the start to the season. Hibs are just completely a different team to what they were this time last year. Jack Ross made major improvements. They're losing a couple of big games doesn't exactly make them cannon there.
I've had my criticisms of Jack Ross in the past, but no, he's doing a solid job at Hibs just now. I'm not convinced that he's the Messiah, as some might have thought he was at one point when he first arrived, and he was going to kind of take them to the next level. I completely disagree with that, but for where Hibs are just now, I think he's probably a relatively safe pair of hands for it. Mm-hmm. I don't think the remedy that screams out just now has been the candidate you're like, oh no, you need to get that guy in.
No, a couple of easy comments, as is social media at times. Ross County 1, Livingston 1. We had a reporter there to see fans in at the stadium for the first time in a wee while there. 300 fans taking that in. Stuart Kettlewell says it was a boost for his players out in the park as they drew 1-1 with Livingston.
I think it made a slight difference. I think it made, well, let's say a big difference. It's 300 people, but it's just great to see supporters back in the ground. I think we all agree on that fact, and hopefully everything went without incident. I'm sure it has done, and maybe we can build on this in the coming weeks.
Right, Ross County, it's a decent point-ish probably. I don't think both teams will be too disheartened by it. Ross County have been looking to it. Two teams that had to sort of find form, and they've both shared the spoils.
That's a much better point for Livingston than it is for Ross County. That's a really good point for Livingston, because I know that County's kind of had their forms dropped off with what it was at the start of the season, but these are the teams now. These are the kind of games where it's going to relegation and whatnot's going to be decided later in the season. Things like Livingston going away to Dingwall, coming back on the road for a point from that. I mean, Livy have not been in good form recently. So to come away from that with a point is a pretty good, it's a solid result for Livingston. I think County will have every reason to be a bit disappointed because I think when you look at how Livy's been the last few weeks, that's one that you would have kind of looked at it and went, we can get this monkey off our back and we can get back to winning games and picking up points. And if I was Stuart Kettlewell just now, I'd feel a bit kind of that's one that got away from me.
Maybe so. But I'll look ahead to the other games that were on. I was at St Johnstone, Kilmarnock. Anybody watching that in streams probably seen more than me as the fog descended upon McDermott Park. It wasn't a great game to watch. Anybody who's watching this that also watched that can probably testify to that. But St Johnstone won't care. 1-0 win for them. Danny McNamara with a decent enough strike to give them the victory, although Kilmarnock fans probably a bit aggrieved that Danny McNamara didn't have a penalty given against him after his arm appeared to block a shot heading into the back of the net. But Callum, Davidson and Alex Dyer, St Johnstone and Kilmarnock managers have reacted to the result at full time.
I thought first half we probably dominated sort of the game without really testing the goalkeeper. I thought we got into good areas and the quality cut let us down. They had obviously 2 good chances from set plays. But apart from that, as the game went on, I thought we got stronger. Yeah, it was nice that he actually hit the target for once, so doesn't often do it in training. So no, it was good. I'm really pleased for him. He's one of the best players this season so far, and it's great for him to get a goal. He's really popular amongst the lads. It is. I don't know if you actually watch the games we've played. We've actually dominated the game, all the games. Even Celtic game, I thought we played really well. So again, for me, it's just I'm pleased for the lads to get the goals that their performances have deserved and get 3 points. It was a big game for us tonight. I think it takes a little bit away from the foot of the table and puts us in that sort of middle bit.
Very, yeah, definitely. It was. We knew it was going to be a tough game. We didn't do enough to win it. We had a couple of opportunities. Again, both hit the bar and we had one off the line, which I thought was handball. Yeah. And even their goal that they scored, it lad on the arm. So it weren't our night. But we have to do what we do. We go back and we train and we look forward to the next game. We never say it's hard luck. Yeah. You know, I know. Yeah, they're the same. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They're honest enough to know. You know, even though they're all 1-0s, the games we didn't do enough to win. The games we were honest enough to know that. I don't think we, especially today, deserve to lose. But it happens, and we have to dust ourselves down and go again.
And in the other Friday night match, it was St Mirren versus Dundee United, a 0-0 draw there. But the stats, if you read them, St Mirren having so many shots at goal, albeit I don't think a lot of them hit the target. Dundee United, again, their form in front of goal continues, but up the other end, they're doing brilliantly. And despite the fact Dundee United fans aren't exactly happy with how their team's playing now, they are. At the time, they were in 5th, and if I check the league table now, I believe they still are there. Yeah, they still are there. And albeit cut off from Hibs and Aberdeen, who are a wee bit in front now. But it's one of the ones. St Mirren probably, I think St Mirren will be the more disappointed with the point in this one. Despite the fact Jim Goodwin saying that he was in positive spirits after it, they probably deserve to win it on the night.
Yeah, I think St Mirren's just at that position now as well, where it's one they need the points. We're having they're 3 games behind Livingston, 3 games behind Ross County, who are the next 2 teams above them in the table. So it's just a matter of them that they kind of get back into that rhythm, pick up some points, and start climbing back up the table. Because I mean, I said before, I'm certain that St Mirren have got a good side there. I think they've got the players to kind of put on a good run of results, but they need to get the games on the board first, more than anything. So yeah, it's bound to be a real disappointment to have come away with just a point against United on Friday night. And I think as well, just looking at how the buddies have been recently, they're kind of the form when they have played. You can it's a decent enough point for them. if that makes sense. It's one where I'm disappointed not to have got the win from it, but at the same time, it arrests that recent form where it's been loss, and it's some occasions it's been quite heavy losses.
Yeah, I suppose for them over the international break and for Kilmarnock will be the disciplinary hearings that they have against them. Disciplinary charge, I believe that's on the 11th. I believe that's on the 11th. So they'll find out just when they're getting to play those games, if they're getting to play those games, if they are, or Kilmarnock are found guilty in those ones, they could face forfeits. And it's a big if.
If they get away without 3-0, I'll be very surprised. But it could just be the thing that, in St Mirren's case in particular, it could just be the thing that saves their season.
Right, we'll look at the Sunday games as well, starting at Fir Park. I was there as we record this on the Sunday afternoon. Motherwell, again, they did continue their form in the first half, albeit it was a ridiculous first goal. Liam Polworth playing a brilliant through ball for the first one, albeit not up the other end like as usual. Albion Ayeti played in, Mohamed El Yunusi putting one away, and then Tom Rogic again getting in behind. El Yunusi scores again, and even at 2-0, you thought Motherwell are still well in this. Motherwell have got a chance, and when Declan Gallagher scored that goal and it was 2-1, you really did. It looked well, there was only one team that was going to score next. It was one-way traffic, but then Motherwell just giving Celtic too much respect again. El Yunusi getting his hat-trick, and Cham's fourth one was irrelevant to the final outcome, but it just made matters worse from the scoreline. 4-1 it finished, and when you compare that Motherwell lost 5-1 to Rangers a few weeks ago, and they've lost 4-1 to Celtic, the contrast in the performances are really stark, because if Motherwell had got a second goal when they were 2-1 and it finished 2 each, at that point in the game, you probably couldn't have complained either way, but you can't obviously make the individual errors that Motherwell did against Celtic and expect to come away with anything in the end. Celtic deserved their 3 points, and Stephen Robinson gave his assessment of the match at full time.
I don't think the result reflected the performance. The scoreline suggests we got absolutely battered. I don't think that's the case at all. I thought in large periods of the game we were in control, with and without the ball. We had numerous opportunities, probably the most opportunities we've had against Celtic, and we didn't take them. And if you don't take them, you get punished by the quality they have. They took their chances, we didn't. At 2-1, I think we're in total control of the game, and then for the second and third goal, it's individual error for both goals. You don't have to work for either of them. And if you do that against a team in that calibre, you get punished. And we did for them individual errors. The first one, Poli gives the ball away in an area, but that's my fault because I want the boys to be brave on the ball. So if you want them to be brave on the ball, you can't hammer them every time they give the ball away. So we got punished for that one, and Poli shows a great character, and I thought he dominated the midfield at times and was excellent. So, but the second and third goal, the errors are poor, and we got punished for them. But there's a lot of positives in terms of our play against let's make no mistake, I know you guys have built it up as a team that's not a good team, they're an excellent team, they've got very good footballers, and they punished us when they got their chances, they took them. We did.
The other game on the Sunday, Rangers versus Hamilton. We've both just finished watching this literally minutes after recording. Now, as I've already said, lots of people expected Hamilton, with the way Rangers are playing, to maybe lose this 3 or 4-0 quite comfortably. Rangers have did that against teams this season. They've went 2 or 3 up and then they've took the foot off the gas and maybe added another one. That's why I don't think you've seen Rangers, even though they've won a lot of their games to 0, that's why you've not really seen them properly batter anybody as of yet. This was a thumping, and there's absolutely no way of hiding that this was an absolutely atrocious result for Hamilton. It was just a bad day all round for them.
Yeah, normally with these, a lot of times you can come to Rangers or Celtic, you can take a heavy beating and you can come away and you've always got a point to. You could normally say that Rangers were fantastic or Celtic, a guy gets sent off or whatever. You can normally point to something. And there's normally a catalyst that leads towards a heavy defeat against an old firm. And as good as Rangers were this afternoon, Hamilton were fucking awful. Like that was really. Hamilton can't even come away from that and say we still played well, but Rangers were just that good. Hamilton were abysmal. And even some of the guys like Akeem O'Doffin, who's got quite a bit of praise from himself this season, Marin Ogumpo, who I've quite liked. They were just Ryan Fulton, who I like Ryan Fulton as a goalkeeper. So some of that was cut stuff today, and what really got me watching that was that there was never really any point where you seen somebody trying to G up the rest of his teammates and kind of try and firefight a little bit and just batting the hatches. You compare and contrast to Rangers. James Tavernier going mental at somebody at one point for over a pass or a run or something, like 70 minutes into the game. When at this point it's 8-0. And he's still picking out tactical things that they're not doing properly, and he's still getting on his teammates' case at 8-0 because things haven't been done properly. And then you look at Hamilton, and that was just a living guy wearing red and white hoopy t-shirts, just happened to be playing at Ibrox this afternoon. And I feel for Chip. I really feel for Brian Rice because it's been just everything else that's been going on about the club. The Hamilton Cup game, the Annan Cup game, sorry. It's not been an easy time, and to come away with an 8-0, there's just no excusing it. Simply none at all. You could even see if it was a big icing off, you could go, well, come on, we played 70 minutes against Rangers with 10 men. They didn't. They finished that game with 11 men in the park. And we both spoke to Brian after games when Hamilton have been. He doesn't mince his words like with the media at times. So I can only imagine like what that away dressing room at Ibrox is like just now, because I'm fairly certain that as we record this at 20 to 6 on Sunday night, so we're almost a full hour out for the full time whistle. I would not be surprised if he's still in there bollocking them.
No. I suppose it could go the complete other way, and it's one of those ones where you go into a dressing room, it's just dead silence. Not what you can say after an 8-0 defeat, but serious questions need asked after that. Obviously, I think Hamilton fans, I know Brian Rice has got, he had the full keyboard warrior stuff and all that, and I don't think those comments necessarily helped matters a lot, but I do think he sometimes gets a bit of a bad ride from fans just in terms of what Accies are a championship size club punching above their weight every year. And I know that's a rhetoric that even though I think Hamilton fans
off at Hamilton.
Yeah, I think Hamilton fans.
This may piss people off at Hamilton, but they're not even I would argue that they're even a kind of top level championship size club. Look at this season's championship. Are Hamilton as big a club as Dundee? Are Hamilton as big a club as even Raith Rovers? You're United. Hell, look at the first League One, Partick and Falkirk. And I say this with the greatest respect to Hamilton, and this is probably more for Hamilton fans' benefit than it is for any of the club. But I think Hamilton fans need to sit back sometimes and realise that they're a club that have punched above their weight for a long, long, long time.
Yeah, I think.
And I'm not just talking about punching a little bit above their weight. They're punching like several divisions above their weight. So I think we're just at the point now where it's I think the end might be nigh for them.
Well, that's the thing. Even the nicest of ways, the cockroaches at the SPFL, they just won't go away. But I don't know. It's like I understand. I'm going to completely sit in the fence and not go for either side. I understand that from Hamilton, from a club point of view, there isn't a lot they can do in terms of they can only really afford to stay in the league and not really push high up in the league. I also understand the fans' point of view. They've been in this league for 7 or 8 years now, and constantly they've pretty much been used to their team winning 4 or 5 games a season, and then the rest of it's an absolute struggle, and they take at least 1 or 2 of these beatings a season. That's not a great way to live watching your football team for 8 years, and I think it's more that side of things. They want their team to have success or things like it. It's not even like they've had a cup run. They've been beat off Annan 2 or 3 times. They've been beat off Annan more than they've made quarterfinals and stuff like that in recent years. So I think it's more that side I think fans are worried about. But it's obviously not been a great day for them. And I think they've got Stranraer and Albion Rovers next, and it'll be interesting to see how they do. They really, really need some big victories in them. But as the Annan game a few weeks ago showed, that they're not exactly a given.
The big problem with those games, and yeah, absolutely, they're not a given, but not by any stretch, they're not a given. But I think just for these games, it can almost lead to a false sense of security for Hamilton. You go and get a couple of big wins in these two games against teams who, with the greatest respect, they should be beaten relatively comfortably. You win these two games 3 or 4-0. By the time you're back to the Premiership, you notice that it's gulfs in quality again. And you quickly find out that Stranraer and St Mirren are two very, very different levels of opposition.
It's been interesting. They need a positive result very quickly after that. But that's our review of the weekend's action over with. We hope you have enjoyed. We've got plenty of content coming over the next week. We've got the League Cup and Scotland fixtures to come. Also, the Scotland one's probably the biggest one everybody in the nation is looking forward to, as the country looks to secure its first place at a major tournament since 1998. And we'll have the build-up to that one. You look completely thrilled about it. I will have the build-up to that one, preview of that, as well as instant reaction to the game in Serbia. We'll also do a preview of the Nations League games and a review after those are done with. We'll also have a wee short look at the League Cup fixtures that are coming up and a review of them at the end of the weekend, as well as we've got the return of the fans debate special. I know you like them, James. We've got Stirling Albion Chairman Stuart Brown and Dumbarton Vice Chairman Colin Hossey speaking to us. We thank them for their time, a really insightful, about 55 minutes in length there of all the different issues facing Scottish clubs this season, with a particular focus on the live streaming element of it. And as well as that, last but not least, we have another exclusive interview coming on the Thursday morning. So do check that out. And I think that should be us. And then we've got the Premiership returning in a couple of weeks. The Premiership reviews and previews, go on a wee break, and then we'll be back.
I'm going to make these into a Star Wars type scroll from now on. We can just run them.
Oh, we're going to need to. These weeks are mental. These weeks they're obviously what you want to enjoy after the months off of football. But I mean, it is mental. The amount of football that's on is just. Yes, it was the saying about buses. You wait ages for one and two come at once. So this time you wait ages for one and about 16 have came at the one time.
Let's hope the weather doesn't put paid to it soon.
Yes, let's hope that too. But that's us for this review. We hope you have enjoyed. Please do remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video,